The Democrat Party is on life support. I've been saying this for at least the last 4 years. The Democrat Party is on life support. But what do I know? Let's listen to one of their own say their party is on life support. Welcome to the Village Boy Podcast. It's your host, Trez. Hit the like button, hit subscribe. We're about to have a beautiful, amazing conversation as we navigate through the confusion and chaos that has become the Democrat Party.
Absolutely. Democrats are in a crisis right now. They're on
They are in a crisis right now. They sure are.
life support. They have a testicular fortitude problem.
Boy, he is doing damage to this party.
They are not fighting nearly as hard as they need to fight for the American people, as was seen last week during this CR vote in the Senate. It's a problem. And for me, it's not about the parties, because the parties are going to kind of do their thing. It's about the people rising up and holding the parties accountable. Democrats have fighters. Jasmine Crockett, AOC.
That's where I disagree. He said, Jasmine, we have tools to combat illegal immigrants and we're not using them. It's a fighter. No, sir. This is where I disagree. But I'll let you carry on.
Ayanna Presley, the whole squad, Greg Casar, Pramila Jayapal, and governors and mayors across the country are fighters. But we need some of the OGs in the party to elevate, uplift the younger people,
or do they
and
need
take a
to,
step
do
back.
they need to step aside?
I must ask, the question I must ask, what are they fighting? Are they fighting Trump, or are they fighting policies that are geared towards the American people? Those are two different things. So this is a difference. What is the Democrat Party fighting? Because if you're fighting Trump, Trump has already figured out how to beat you. In one of my previous videos, I talked about Trump understanding the Democrat Party when he brought this 12, 13-year-old kid with cancer and said, I could do just about anything good, and the Democrats are not going to stand. He was not talking to Democrats. This was not a message addressed or targeting Democrats. This was a message Trump was passing on to the American people that, look, I could cure cancer. I could find a cure for dementia. I could solve homelessness tomorrow. And these people you're looking in this chamber will not stand and clap. That's how low this country has come. And Democrats make the mistake to think that Trump was talking to them. And when he said, this is an example, I'll show you an example here. Just you wait. He introduced the 13-year-old boy and said, this is a kid that has battled cancer, and we're going to make him honorary Secret Service agent. A party that could see through that would rise up and clap because they understand the game. They understand the gamesmanship. They understand that this is politics at its highest level. They will stand up and clap to neutralize any counterattack that Trump was launching. But because it's a party, like you said, my good sir, on life support, they cannot see and comprehend these things. Right? And so they sat down, and why the cameras caught the moment of the child, everybody's celebrating with this kid, but the Democrats sat there looking on their phones. This is the memory that would be in the minds of Americans as they go into the midterms to vote. That's a party on life support. Right? And AOC didn't stand up. Jasmine Crockett didn't stand up. All of these people you're calling did not stand up. So what fight are they essentially fighting in a game where optics is just as important as the message you're trying to convey? Recently, I released a video about the deportation of the violent Venezuelan gang. And I said, this is a balanced platform. You can make a case for due process, but the Democrats were the ones who opened the borders and let in millions and millions and millions of people come through the borders. Not vetted, no due process, nothing. And now that somebody, another president, is wanting to send these millions of people that Democrats let into the country without due process, the Democrats are bringing up due process. The question is, do Americans care in this moment in time about, do we get rid of these people or do we get due process before we get? That should be the argument that the Democrats are thinking about before pushing any fights. Because before you fight, you must have a plan. You must have an ability of why we're fighting, who we're fighting for, and how we're going to beat the person we're about to fight. You cannot just fight. Because if you're fighting without knowing who you're fighting for and why you're fighting for, then that is a party without a vision and without a plan, which is a party on life support, my good sir. And that's the Democrat Party in its current state. They are fighting. You have the people like Jasmine Crockett. You have the people like Budget Obama, Jeffries, Hakeem Jeffries, minority speaker. They're fighting. They're on the media and they're talking, but nobody is listening to them. Recently, Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez (AOC) just finished a rally in Colorado where they had 34,000 people. Listen, the Democrats are about trends. They love trends. This is a party of trends, so they're going to trend. This is what is going to happen. It's going to be a trend. So everywhere they go, they're going to see that, oh, there were 34,000 people in Colorado. We're going to outdo that. But what is the message? What is the focus, and what are you trying to accomplish? Because right there, you would think that that's a president and a vice president ticket. When push comes to shove, did you support the deportation of violent criminals out of our country? And you're talking about due process. The American people are not going to care. 34,000 people. Democrats, you can rally people. You're the party of stars. You're the party of what's hip. But does that translate to votes when it matters? No, it doesn't. And you need to redefine yourself. You need to focus. Trump passed an executive order. Point number 3, Trump passed an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. I have a video talking especially on the Department of Education. The Democrat Party just, it's a party that's too comfortable. It's a party that needs to get out of its comfort zone, needs to get out of its own ways to be able to help itself. The Democrat Party, it's in its own way. Jimmy Carter brought up the Department of Education, and Congress passed it in 79. The very 80, Ronald Reagan pushed to dismantle the Department of Education. So for 45 good long years, 45 years, the Republicans have been fighting to dismantle the Department of Education since it was created by Jimmy Carter. They have tried and failed and tried and failed, introduced legislation. Can you tell me anything that Democrats have fought consistently for 45 good years and they finally got it? Universal health care, at the very start of it, they choked and passed some rubbish, Obamacare, that doesn't serve a purpose. But was that something they fought for 45 years? Abortion rights, they got comfortable. Something that Republicans have been fighting for a generation, which has decimated, wiped out the Black population and kept them at 12%. The Black population has never grown beyond 12% since the founding of this country. You want to fight? How about you fighting for 45 years to show that the Department of Education was a force for good? That the money that was put in the Department of Education went into the right places, so America goes from 31st to 1st. So America starts exporting the best intelligence, science, STEM, and not just English teachers that are going to Vietnam, to Thailand, to China. America is exporting English teachers. And in those countries, they're competing with other English teachers for whom English language is not a native spoken language. So an American teacher would leave California to go make $2,000 in Thailand alongside a Nigerian, a Cameroonian, a Sierra Leonean for whom English language is not a native spoken language. That is the level of the American educational system. And you have given it to the Republicans that do not value education, because West Virginia is not going to invest $200 million in education. West Virginia is not going to invest $1 billion in education. Kentucky, I don't see them investing. Alabama, Mississippi, these places are not going to invest $1 billion in education, right? Illinois, a blue state that is going to invest the $1 billion in education, but for the wrong reason. They're going to push progressive ideas in education that is not going to help the child compete with the Chinese kid, with the kid from Singapore, with the kids from Europe, with the kids from Africa. Because some of the brightest kids in the world come from these countries. So when you want to fight, which you should fight, because if you don't fight, the Republicans are going to run this country into the ground. That's what we know. Republican fatigue is going to happen. But you need a party that can come together to work for the interests of all Americans. And right now, just saying that you need to fight sounds to me like TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. You want to fight President Trump. That's a wrong mission. It's a wrong focus. Trump has 4 years. He's not running for re-election. So it's pointless fighting him. Your goal is to convince the American people, who would then convince their electorate, and then they will change focus and side with you. Trump is pushing the agenda that he ran on. For the first time in my lifetime, I've seen a president run on an agenda and exactly do what he said he was going to do in the campaigns. I will deport all the illegals. We're going to deport. He is doing just that. Tell me any time when a Democrat said, for example, Biden ran as a moderate, convinced a guy like me to vote for him. As soon as he got it, first of all, he picked a radical leftist, Californian leftist as his vice president, which I didn't agree. But he picked and I knew he was probably going to move to pander to his far left base, but I didn't know he would go that far. He turned around and went far left, and I couldn't identify in this party no more. So when you say fight for who and for what is what's missing. And when you're on life support, you have to measure what you're fighting for.
And or step aside, because we need to hear new, fresh, bold voices. That's what the American people want. And if the party doesn't do that, the party is about to be finished.
I think the party is finished. You need a rebirth of the party. You need a rebirth of the party. For example, the violence that's going on right now with the burning of Teslas. I'm not a fan of Elon. I'm no fan of Elon Musk for specific things that he does. The richest man in the world cannot have hired only 150,000 people globally, not just in America. For me, that's unacceptable. There's nothing to support. Yes, I like the fact that he is finding waste and abuse in the federal government, something that has never been done before. But for the most part, I disagree with his approach of saying the federal government should be run as a business. And we know how he runs his businesses, by putting people out of work. So there's nothing for me to support. He runs his business to turn a profit. The profit that's going to go for the federal government, who is he going to go to? So, but we don't see Democrats come out in full force to denounce the attacks on Tesla, especially on private ownership. You cannot be the party of inclusivity, the party to bring people, the party of equity, the party of kumbaya, the party of getting people together, and you see this level of violence going on in the country and you don't call it out. You don't stand as a unifying force and saying, this is not what we support. So when you say fight, fight, your base is hearing that we should go out and burn out things. We should go out and destroy. We should go, because that's what the Democrat Party does when they're unhappy. They burn their own cities and businesses.
I hope that AOC, Pramila Jayapal, Greg Cesar, I hope they're the new face of the Democratic Party because Republicans will be winning elections all over the country.
And this is the Republican arrogance that I don't like, because he thinks in this posture, without a concrete plan, Republicans are going to just stay winning. No, sir, there's going to be Republican fatigue. Republicans have one election to win, which is the 2028 election. After that, if JD Vance plays his card, he may win that election, then Republican fatigue is going to set in. Because Republicans are not known to solve long-term problems. It's a historical thing here. Republicans have not created half the jobs that Democrats have created. Republicans have not created a prosperous economy anywhere. If Republican policies were that good, my good sir, Alabama, Mississippi, all of these red states will be booming states, because that is the reflection of your policies. The poorest states in the union are Republican states. This arrogance of thinking that, oh, Republicans are just going to win without policies, it's going to come to an end. You have to be able to humble yourself and keep working for the American people, ensuring that you're creating jobs, you're making sure Americans, the standard of living is affordable for the American people. Every 2 years, Americans vote in an election and they switch either ways. If they're not happy, they go Democrat. If they're not happy, they go Republican. Don't be arrogant. I smell arrogance. I'm beginning to smell cockiness and arrogance.
If that is the face of the Democratic Party. Are you?
I mean, y'all
listen, a district like mine that Joe Biden won by 10 points, okay, 10 points. Kamala Harris won by half a point. Okay, I won by 6.5 points, 24,000 votes in a district that has 85,000 more Democrats than Republicans. Why?
And you're right.
Because the
but
Democrats,
you ran against a cornball candidate. You had
he was your friend.
He was not my friend.
He was your friend.
You
long
had
ago.
someone running against you who was not a strong candidate, and we still
we agree on.
We still have consultants and big money controlling the Democratic Party, compromising it.
Outperform Kamala Harris in her
Come on
district.
now.
Trump did,
Sure.
Trump did better than.
But here's my point. The New York, look no further than New York, where issues like cashless bail have been a disaster, issues like sanctuary state status, congestion pricing. In districts like mine, where Democrats on paper should win big, they're losing. And so if the messenger is AOC, who, by the way, was originally from my district, she grew up in Yorktown, not the Bronx. If AOC is the face of the Democratic Party in swing districts all across this country, she will mobilize voters way more than Nancy Pelosi ever did.
Let me just.
And that's true. But you cannot take that for granted. You cannot take that you cannot be so casual or pedestrian about that. You have to ensure that you keep fighting. You have to ensure that you keep pushing the agendas that work for the American people. You cannot concern yourself about the Democrat Party who is running. They're already on live support. What you need to keep doing is doing the job for the American people, doing what the American people sent you to Washington to do. The moment where you get comfortable in the range like the Democrat Party, you will start losing elections. Like I said, Republican fatigue is going to set in after 2028. We will see if Republicans can maintain and win an election and govern for 12 years straight, or they're going to lose an election because of Republican fatigue. It's going to happen if you don't start solving real problems. Political capital only lasts but so long. If gas prices don't start coming down, egg prices don't start coming down, the tax rates going low, we can feel the benefits of all of the savings that the Doge team is doing. The American people can see it in their wallets. At some point, we're not going to care. At some point, we're going to start asking questions. At some point, you would have given the CPR resuscitation that the Democrat Party needed. It would have come from the Republican Party. If you're not able to give us a healthcare plan that is affordable for the average American, if you're not able to solve these issues, because the Democrats talk a good talk. That is their strength. They don't solve problems either, but they talk a good talk. Now that they are on life support, Republicans need to go, if you want to stay in power, and ensure that you solve the everyday American problem: excessive high cost of healthcare, excessive high cost of medication, an education system that's in the toilet, and just assuming that you would give $2 billion to backward red states and it will solve the education crisis in America. It's stupid. Because states that are going to invest in education and states that are not going to invest in education, we are still going to have a disparaging educational system, because when push comes to shove in a very demanding labor market, those states, usually red states that did not prioritize education, are going to suffer. So it's good and fine to talk this talk. It's good and fine. You want to be arrogant. It's good and fine to say, oh my God, if AOC is going, AOC just pulled 34,000 people in Colorado. And the party of trends, you can believe that when their rich donors see that, money is going to start flowing. And candidates like Jasmine Crockett that were already near extinction, they're going to have a renewed life. Be very careful what you wish for. It's the Village Boy podcast. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's keep growing that numbers. Let's keep having these conversations so that we can see a balance in our political discourse. Thank you.